team brown BMW X1. Comply?
I'll do that when you confirm who you're working for.
You work for me? You gotta trust me. I am trying to help you.
Oh, we're working for the president of a corporation.
Get in the car!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 action thriller The Contractor, a film that is directed by Tariq Saleh and it stars Chris Pine, Gillian Jacobs, Ben Foster and Kiefer Sutherland. Now the film focuses on Chris Pine's character James, who essentially is given an honourable discharge from the military because he was injured in active duty. They don't think he can perform anymore at the top level, so he is released. So he has got a family to provide for, he's got debts up to his eyeballs, and he reaches out to his former commanding officer, Ben Foster, who offers him some private contracted work led by Kiefer Sutherland's character, Rusty. So they head off to Berlin to pull off this job where they think they're taking down somebody who's connected to terrorism. In actual fact, it all goes terribly wrong. Members of the team are killed, and it is left to Chris Pine out in a foreign land to try and stay alive and get back home to his family. Right, what are my thoughts on The Contractor? Well, I saw the trailer for this a couple of weeks ago. And I actually thought it looked really, really good. This is on Amazon at the minute, Amazon Prime, which is where I've watched it. And I have to say, I was pretty impressed with this film. I really quite liked it. I don't really understand where a lot of the negative reviews are coming from for this. Well, I'm saying that. I kind of do. Because it does take a while to get going, this film. It's a deliberately slow-paced film for certainly much of the setup, but I don't mind that. I actually thought they took quite a bit of care in the setup of the film and the introduction to the characters. They felt real, they felt grounded, it felt like the situation he was in would lead him down the path he went down. So I really quite enjoyed this setup of this guy who doesn't want to follow the same path as his father. And he wants to really provide for his family and be there for his family, but he knows he's only really got a certain set of skills that he can put to use. So, which is why he goes down this private contractor route. You could argue, I suppose, it's pretty predictable fare in a sense of, they go to Berlin, they do this job, it goes wrong, and then there's like a betrayal that takes place that leads him back home to try and take out the Kiefer Sutherland character. And that's not a spoiler. You can pretty much see in the trailer where it's going, the film. But I think it executes it really, really well. Another thing I think they really got right here with the Chris Pine character is they don't project him as this superhuman-like soldier, like this Rambo character, these cartoon characters that we used to get in the past that are not believable these days. They smartly and cleverly presented this character who was vulnerable. Because of his injury, his knee is absolutely shot to pieces, and you see that countless times in this film. Right at the beginning, he has to wear like a brace, and many, many times, he needs treatment on his knee during this film and stuff. So, he is not like some kind of super soldier sort of thing. Most of the scenarios he gets into, he uses his brain to kind of get out of them, and when he has to, he uses his set of skills as well to get out of it. So I thought they presented a really vulnerable character at times, but also able to do what he needs to do to survive and get back to his family as well. And I thought that was it felt like a real person, and that's not always what you can say with these movies. They're always sometimes obsessed with presenting these untouchable characters that barely come off without scrapes and stuff in movies, and nowadays they know that audiences won't accept that, which is why we get these sort of characters in movies. We got it with Liam Hemsworth in that film he did for Netflix last year or year before that was very, very good. He gets battered and bruised throughout the whole film, and that's what we get here again with Chris Pine. He's literally scraping and holding on with his fingertips to stay alive in order to get back to where he needs to get back to the US and get back to his family and make things right. And I thought the film did a really good job at doing that. And I also like Chris Pine. I actually think he's a bit of an underrated actor. I think people look at Chris Pine and they just see Captain Kirk, they just see Star Trek stuff, which for me is great anyway, because I'm a big fan of his in the Star Trek films. I think he does a fantastic Kirk. But every time I've seen him in anything beyond Star Trek, I've always been impressed. And this film is no different. And I really, really enjoyed his character in this film. I would have liked to have seen more of Kiefer Sutherland in this film. He's now moving into his dad territory. You know, when his dad got to that point in his career where he was like, you know, playing like these sinister characters or these authoritarian characters, this sort of thing. He's moving gently into that stage of his career now, Kiefer Sutherland, and he pulls it off effortlessly. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of his character. The Ben Foster character, I actually think, again, Ben Foster is fairly underrated. He's one of these character actors that does a lot of movies, quite like this as well, but he never seems to kind of rise to the top, which is a bit of a shame. And he's absolutely fine in this film. And in fact, he's got great chemistry, I think, with the Chris Pine character, and this real camaraderie, you know, this military connection that they have. And I enjoyed the story. Yes, there will be some out there that will say, oh, it's too slow paced, I didn't like it, not enough action. But it felt grounded, it felt real, it felt like, apart from a couple of bits here and there, it felt like this is probably how it would go. You know, like these Black Ops missions where they go to these countries and they're off the books, they're off the military books, and they pull off these jobs. And sort of stuff probably happens all the time. And it kind of felt realistic as to how it would go. And it felt realistic as to how the op was set up and all this kind of stuff. And it even felt realistic in regards to when the action came. It wasn't over the top, it was just enough. And you felt the real threat and danger when he was in these situations and scenarios. So I actually really quite enjoyed this film, much better than I actually was expected to. And especially when I've looked at some people reviewing it, I think they've kind of dismissed it and like, no, it's too slow paced. It's not, and it's not enough action for me. But for me, I quite enjoyed the majority of this film. It was pretty good, and it's certainly better than certainly maybe some of the reviews are saying. I've noticed on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics' reviews are fairly low, but the audience reviews are fairly high, which says a lot to me. It says audiences are enjoying it. So I'm actually going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I was really entertained by it, and I would actually like to see more of this character, if that's possible, if they're going to do any more. I really appreciated it, and I really enjoyed it, and check it out if you get the opportunity. If you like a fairly deliberately slow-paced build-up to a film that does deliver and does give you some kind of payoff, you'll probably quite enjoy this one. But I understand if you're into these fast-paced, fluid, showy-offy like action flicks, like the John Wicks and stuff like that, which are brilliant, I know they are. This might not be for you. This is kind of really toned down a little bit, but it feels more grounded to me. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.